This is Amy, and I will be sharing a snip of my testimony. So, middle school year was the year that I was introduced of who Christ was. My brother had introduced us to care groups, to crosswalk, and so I attended them every week. But definitely my relationship was still growing, very immature and very weak, and so yeah. So throughout my middle school year too, I struggled a lot with making friends or just having a relationship with people. Um, I try to find a group of friends who was willing to accept me for who I was. Friends who were going to be there for me, my lowest, and um, whether that was making friends at school, at church, or online, it was still so difficult for me, and there just seemed to be no one there. And so, going into high school, I only walked with only two friends, and these two friends are still very dear to me today, and I thank them so much for making such a big impact in my life, especially in my spiritual walk as well. And through the doubts and the troubling times, they have encouraged me of just who Christ was, and how these things were not promised to be in suffering, but that everything was all temporary. And so throughout my high school year, I began to struggle with my self-identity, finding out who I was. Whether I was even made for people, or whether I was meant to even have friends, just finding my identity and my purpose in life. Because I would wake up thinking to myself, what is there for me to do? Why me? Why is it that uh, I can do all these things, or why is it I can't do all these things? And so it was always that wondering, what more is there to life? And so to answer this, I came to the conclusion, okay, I think I know. It's all about getting married. It's about adulting, getting kids, getting a kid, and then, going, finding a really good job and fitting Christ here and there. And then we all die. That's it. That's how I perceived how life was going to be for me, or just how life was in general. And so that was when I started to open up my heart to guys and find my identity in them and my worth, especially. And so when I started to open up to other guys, I started to get hurt from each and every single one of them. It was either they fell out of love, or they liked my sister, or they just lost feelings. And so each time I was getting hurt, I wanted to find this sort of comfort. So I ran to other guys to help fill this gap in my heart, to make me feel worthy, because I don't have a lot of girlfriends, and a lot of these girlfriends, they don't like me, and so I need to find worth somewhere, right? And so I shift this idea away from Christ, because I just wanted from man itself. And so that was when I had my first boyfriend in my junior year, and I was so determined. You guys don't know how, when I look back at how immature I thought I had my life together. I had my first boyfriend, and I just thought, man, he's gonna protect me. I don't need any other friends anymore. And, I'm so much better off, and I know my worth, because I got a boyfriend now. And so that makes me grown. And so, however, in our relationship, it was a wreck. We were both struggling so much, because we fell so deep into our own desires, and start to find our own worth in each other. And especially for me, I began to seek him to fill this heart of mine, to fill these emptiness, and to help me find my purpose and to fulfill everything that I wanted in life. And I began to realize that I was hurting him a lot during that process, and especially hurting myself because I wasn't willing to do it myself. I wanted to hide behind someone's back. So that was when I fell into depression, when I started to feel very negative about myself and was feeling so hopeless of just what life was. First of all, my ACT score was a lot low than I wanted it to be. And second, I got into 2 car accidents. And then after those 2 car accidents, uh, I lost trust from my parents. My parents started to not trust me anymore, and I was known as the I guess like the bad girl, you know, in the family. And so, and also with my sisters, not my sisters, but my family, I lost that relationship with them as well. Like every time they try to correct me, I took everything that they said to the heart. And I just thought to myself, as long as I'm not cussing them out, then I'm fine. And so I began to be very negative towards them as well, and close them off of my life, and only opening everything to my boyfriend at that time. And so I'm reminded of the phrase hurt people, and that's exactly where I was. And this emptiness wasn't being fulfilled being in the relationship, and we were both stumbling so much that we couldn't carry each other anymore. And that's when I realized that how far I have fallen from Christ. And so there was one night, every night from then on, it was full of just darkness in my room and tears streaming down my face. And there was one time where I began to choose, and when I chose not to be ignorant anymore and turn to God, I remember praying to him, just asking him forgiveness. And I had to make a very big decision at that time, and it was to end my relationship with my boyfriend, because it was what was holding me back from letting myself free. And so I didn't want to break up with him because my family loved him, my friends loved him, and at the back of my mind, feeling so self-conscious, I just had a strong feeling that those girls that end up not even liking me, not end up being my friend, they probably wish the worst for me. Like I was so insecure about myself so much that I made myself believe that people saw me that way. And so that was when I came upon a song called What You Say by Ryan Stevenson, and it brought me to tears because I knew that whatever decision that I made from then on, that Christ was gonna go before me, that there was nothing that could stand against me, and that it didn't matter what they said about me, it didn't matter about what people thought of me, but what all that mattered was how Christ looks at me, and how God looks at me. And I reminded myself of just how precious I was, and how much God has gone before me, and how much the things that he has done so far in my life, from the beginning of my middle school year till now, and how God was still working in me, and it wasn't about me anymore. And so when I broke up with my boyfriend, I decided to go to church because I was so desperate to hear God's word. I was so desperate. It didn't even matter if I made friends anymore. It was just, I want to come to you, Father. And so Chewy set this skit for us, and it was Lighthouse, I think it was by, or Lifelight, or I forgot what it was called, but excuse me, she showed us that skit, and when the moment she opened, I turned on the lights, my eyes were just filled with so much tears because it was exactly what I had gone through. And I just couldn't wait to leave that building and be on my knees and pray to him in my room, praising him. And that's was an eye-opening for me that, Amy, you are not gonna leave him anymore. He's not gonna leave you, and he has never even left you. And so I was committed to living my life for him and to glorify him, because it wasn't even like I said, about me anymore. It was all about him and his goodness. And this was part of my testimony that I am so proudly and happy to share, because I know that God has brought me out of darkness, and he can do the same thing for each and every single one of us. And that God will be just the center of it all and be glorified through it. And that has always been my end goal through my devotions, through my testimony, and to live my life to glorify him and to honor him and to obey his words. And so this is the end of my testimony. Thank you for listening. I hope that I hope to hear your testimony as well, because I'm always watching it, and I hope I can encourage you guys even just a little bit. So thank you, and see you guys next week for the next testimony. Bye.